my new home. So I have finally settled into my new condominium unit. And at this point of the video, I have been living here for the past 2 weeks and I actually love it. I super love it. Now, technically, we moved in here a month ago, but it was my partner who actually took care of the initial moving in, like, doing the heavy lifting. Bless his soul for doing that. And he was also the one who's responsible in, doing the initial setup of our home here, because for the entire month of June I have actually been staying in our home in the province. I had to take care of my dogs because they had some medical issues. So 2 of my dogs had teeth problems, and then towards the tail end of my trip there, the last week, one of my other dogs had developed a tumor, and we actually had to rush him to the vet, and the vet had to operate on him that day. And I actually had to spend the remaining week of my stay there taking care of him. I just had to ensure that before I left, he was actually doing well, and he had rested, and he had finished taking his medication. So I'm gonna talk about that in another vlog, maybe when I go back to my home in the province. But speaking of which, if you're actually interested to know what happened for the entire month of June that I was staying in my home in the province, I'm gonna put a link down to my island life vlog, so that if you're interested to know what happened, or if you just want to see how I live my life while I am there, you can just click on the playlist below and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, it's been actually a very exciting a chapter in not only my life but also with my partner, because we've discussed moving into a smaller condominium unit for years now, and finally it's here. So we're so grateful and so happy that our dreams has finally come into fruition. And we're also happy to say that we actually love living in such a small space, because this condominium unit is only 54 square meters. So it's actually quite small, especially for someone who's lived in a house that was around 283 square meters. So it's a big change. It's a big change, but I do love on how small it is, how compact it is, because it's easier to maintain. And with the lifestyle that my partner and I have right now, it's actually easier for us to close this down in the event that we have to stay for an extended period of time in our home in the province. We don't have to worry about security because the condominium corporation actually takes care of that, but we actually do pay for association dues for that privilege. So we're very, very happy on what's going on. Very happy. So I am still settling in. I'm still finding my way here, still finding my energy, but so far I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So I will be giving you a short tour here in our home, and also I'm going to be giving you some initial reviews of the appliances that I purchased recently, which I talked about in one of my island life vlogs. And I'm so happy to say that so far so good. So good. So as I've said, this unit is only 54 square meters, and it is described to be as a 2-bedroom unit. But I do have to say that I wished they sold this as a 1-bedroom unit, because the space is actually very small. Because even if I say that this is 54 square meters, 9 square meters of that is actually a balcony. So that really ate up on the space for the bedroom. I'll show you that a little bit later when we get to that part of the unit. Okay, so let's start here first. So this is the main door of the unit. So let me put my phone down, and if we open it, I actually have a screen door installed. This was just installed this morning, so that's why I'm doing this vlog this afternoon, because I actually planned to do this earlier today. But anyway, so when you enter the unit, the first thing that you would see is actually the kitchen. So I have to zoom out. Okay, so the counter space of the kitchen is actually quite small, which was quite a big change for us. And we just have to time our movements properly. And we also have to ensure that we don't do like, heavy cooking. So we just have to like, change our routine. Like, as soon as we get something we eat, we have to wash it because we can't really leave stuff like, lying on the sink because the sink is actually very, very small. And I recently purchased this like, metal shelf here. So let me zoom in. There you go. Because I just wanted to like, declutter some parts of the kitchen because all of this before here at the top was actually on this side here. And what happened with that is that it really ate up so much of the counter space that if I am cooking, I don't have enough space to either like, chop vegetables, things like that. So the only thing that I don't like about this metal rack that I purchased is that it's just like, too wide. And I wish that this was actually like, in terms of the width of this, I wish that it was like, half of it. Like maybe in line with the cabinet because it won't look as bulky, if you know what I mean. But this one is actually like, sold as a microwave stand. So you can actually put the microwave here under or on top depending on how much, counter space that you have. And this is also adjustable. You can like, shorten it or you can lengthen it. So for now, this rack here actually like, does its job. Okay, and then here, by the way, is the range hood from the brand La Germania, and it's actually quite well. I love the chic silver color here, and then you have three strengths for its suctioning process. So you have 1, 2, and 3. And then you also have a light here, which can add like brightness into like the cooking process. And this only runs on one motor. So if there's anything that I wish I did for this is that I should have bought the version that had 2 motors because that would really just suck up all of the smoke from the cooking, because I have realized that the space is actually very small here, and if we do like very heavy extensive cooking, the scent of the food, like they all go into the living room and possibly into the rooms. And yeah, but anyway, it's just too late for that. But we don't really do like very extensive cooking like all the time. So this one motor range hood from La Germania actually does the job. Okay, and then next what we have here is the gas range, also from the brand La Germania. Okay, so the gas range here is actually quite compact, and I do love the all white color that we see here. This doesn't have any connection to electricity, but this is actually a LPG gas range. So you have 3 burners here. So let's go closer. Now my only issue with this is that I do not love the layout of the burners here, because I actually used to have a 3-burner gas stove from the same brand in our old home, and the big burner here used to be in the middle here, and you had 2 small burners there on the side, which I think was more effective for cooking, because having the 2 burners here on the side and then the big burner here, I can't really use big pots because it kind of like bumps into the wall here, and you have this like empty space here, which I don't understand why it's empty. Now I remember when I was younger, they had this in 4 burners, so I'm not so sure if they still sell it that way, but seeing the design of the stove top here right now, I'm sure they still do, because this might be a standard design and they only adjust it accordingly, like to price or need, things like that. But yeah, I really wish though that the big burner here would have been here in the middle, and this one would have been here, because it would just have been more effective. Anyway, but that's it. This brand, La Germania, has been in my life like, ever since I was a kid. And I believe, like, if you're Filipino, when you are thinking of, like, a gas stove or a gas range, you always think about the brand La Germania. They were very effective in their marketing campaign before. But anyway, that's it. And I actually did place a, like, tin backing here on the wall. Like, it's just like a splash guard for when I am cooking, because I don't want to destroy the wall here. So in the future, maybe I might find a way of adding a splash guard there that could just, like, be very helpful in maintaining the paint of the wall. Okay, so yeah, as I've said, this is an LPG gas range, and the gas tank is actually under the cabinet here. There you go. Now, I do have to admit that there was a split second after I've, like, started to settle here into the house that I wished that I bought a all-electric, like, gas range, but I threw it out the window, like, soon after, because I really love cooking on a gas stove. And the only thing that made me question my decision was actually the fact that it took up so much space. Like, the gas tank took up so much space under the cabinet. But then again, like, if we're going to assess it, I'm not going to show it to you guys, but, like, where the gas tank is right now, it's actually a dead space inside the cabinet, and it's so difficult to store things there and to get things out of there at any given time. So all is good. All works out well for me here in the kitchen. So let's flip my camera over again. And here it is. So this is our old refrigerator here. We've had this for decades. And then the only thing that's missing right now is I actually bought a shelving here that would fit in that portion. And that's where I'm gonna put all of the condiments for cooking, because now the condiments are here and it's actually quite difficult to reach to open the cabinet, especially that the cabinet that the unit came with doesn't have any knobs with it, because the way you open it, you would have to open it from the bottom. But unfortunately, because the range hood here is taking up the space at the bottom, it's quite difficult to, like, open it. So I've actually ordered that shelf for a few weeks now and it hasn't arrived yet. So hopefully that arrives, like, in the next few days. Okay, now the other thing that I purchased is actually a shoe rack here. Now, I actually assembled this by myself, and oh my god, it was one of the most taxing things that I have ever done. So this is just, like, a simple shoe cabinet that actually is perfect for that part of the house. And then eventually we'll put a mirror here. So I'm just waiting for my partner to arrive, because this is the mirror that he wants to place there, and it's actually quite a heavy mirror, so we need somebody to come and to bore holes in there and to secure this mirror in place. Okay, so from the kitchen, if you turn here, you actually see the main dining and living area. So let's zoom out. So that's it. A very nice compact space. And my light is on because we don't have any light this afternoon, because we're actually having a weather condition today. Okay, so this is where our main living area is going to be. There will be no couch and there will be no television, because at this point in our lives, we are all on our mobile phones or on our computers, and we don't really watch a lot of television much. Like, my partner and I, we do watch films, but we always have our laptops for that. Okay, so let's go and look into the main dining area first. So it's actually very bare right now. We only have 2 chairs, but eventually we will have, like, cabinets and shelvings made here and here. And my partner has already put in some markings there to show which, like, things are going to be placed inside the cabinet. So our water dispenser is going to be inside the cabinet, and then we'll also have cabinets to store, I don't know, maybe kitchen utensils, like, whatnot, things like that. And then we're also going to have another closet space here. Then that's the marker for that. And then what my partner plans is that he is actually going to put a mirror here by the wall. And the reason why he's doing that is because he wants the light to reflect from outside the window there towards the mirror that will be placed there, just so that it's going to enlighten the space and bounce the light, because we don't have a lot of lighting provisions here in the ceiling. So we're just going to find a way to actually add more light into the space. And then because the cabinets are going to be built there, our dining table can actually be moved out and back into the recess, just in case if we need more space. Now the dining table is actually not new. This is our old dining table, but my partner had this repainted into a wenge color so that it matches the bureau that he got from his aunt, which is an heirloom piece, and also with these chairs that we see here. This one has also been repainted into a wenge color, and so has this chair. And because of that, it actually kind of matches the piping here at the edge of the wall, which is actually quite perfect for aesthetic purposes. Okay, all right, so let's move here. This is the toilet and bath here. So it's actually a very good sized toilet, perfect for the both of us. Now, pardon the messy countertops, and the main reason why is because this bathroom did not come with any cabinetry at all. So those are my old drawers that I used to store my makeup, but since all of my makeup are in storage right now, we're using that to store essential things for us to use here in the bathroom. So eventually when renovation comes, we're going to be adding cabinets there, and we're also going to be adding a cabinet here. So it just declutters everything here on the sink right now. And I do love this shower curtain that I bought, by the way, because it's magnetized, the way that it seals itself. I actually love it. So yes, we are using a shower curtain instead of having glass partitions installed, because it's going to be such hard work to clean the glass all the time after you shower. I do remember I stayed with a friend in Los Angeles, and his shower area had a glass partition, and he would always instruct me to wipe down the glass after you shower. So I don't think I would have the patience for that, to do that every day or even every night. But I kind of love how the shower curtain here just covers everything, and it doesn't show you the clutter that's inside the shower area. Look at that. And here's another marker that my partner left, and he's going to have mirrors applied there. Now, speaking of mirrors, there will also be mirrors that's going to be attached here. And this is actually our laundry area. Pardon if it looks quite messy. And the main reason why is because this also doubles as the storage unit for the house. So I have a pail here, and then I have some of cleaning materials here. And then I made a small hanging area just in case if I need to. And then I actually bought this storage rack from the internet. I assembled it and I put it there because I just needed something to add more to the storage capacity of this area. Now this rack here, it's not going to be permanent. I am actually thinking of having some cabinets installed here in the future, but I don't think now is the time, because I am seriously thinking of transferring the entire washing area into our drying rack. So we have a drying rack that came with the unit, and it's located on the roof deck, and we are actually allowed to wash our clothes there. So we just have to attach an electric meter and a water meter to fully use it. But we can do that in a future date, because I don't want to spend so much money to attach another water meter and another electric meter, because it is so expensive to do that here. Anyway, so let's go back to the washing area. And this is my washing machine. So this is a front load washing machine from TCL, and this is actually a washing machine and dryer combo in one, and I love it. So this is my first front load washing machine. I'm so proud of myself. And this washing machine comes with different washing programs depending on what you need. And what I usually do is I use the wash and dry program, so it washes and dries clothes in 60 minutes. So I love it. Now this washing machine has a 10.5 kilogram washing program, which is not bad. But if you want to use the dryer program, you can only dry it using 8 kilograms of clothes, and it dries to about 80 or 90%. But if you dry lighter clothes at, let's say, 7 kilograms or 6 kilograms, it actually comes out all dry. So that's why I actually had installed some hanging things here, because just in case a shirt doesn't dry fully, I can just hang in there instead of rushing up to the drying rack up the roof deck, just for one thing. Yeah, so I also installed some pegs here behind the door just to hang some stuff, and the main reason why is because we don't have cabinets for our clothes yet. All right, so let me close the washing area and let's go to the bedroom. And this is the main bedroom. So this is our bedroom, and as you guys can see, the bed almost encompasses the entire room. And initially we were actually thinking of getting a smaller bed, but I told my partner I think we're quite comfortable in a California king size bed, because my partner is around 5'11" and he's also bigger than I, so it's going to be much more comfortable for him if we just use the same size of bed. So we have a bed topper here, which was with us. The only thing that's new is actually the foam, the bed foam. So the headboard is our old headboard, the bed frame is our old bed frame, bed sheets are still our bed sheets, nothing is new here. And then we actually cannot put in cabinets here, because again the space is actually very, very small. And as you guys can see, my partner already set it up very nicely and aesthetically. And do not worry if we don't have any cabinet space, because we will be actually having cabinets made here in the other bedroom. From the main bedroom, if you turn left here, you have the other smaller bedroom, which is currently housing all of our stuff. So when renovation comes, that's when we will have cabinets made here, wherein it's going to house all of our stuff. So this will also be my office area. So this is my old office table in my former house, but we also had it painted into this wenge color just to match the chair here and the overall aesthetic color of the house. Look at that, look, wenge color, wenge, everything is wenge. Okay, so I know that the room looks very small, and I'm still adjusting to the size of this room, but again, as I said, I love how small it is. And it just looks very messy right now because we don't have any closet space. So hopefully when the closets are made, everything is going to fit perfectly. But if not, my partner and I are thinking that maybe we should also rent out, let's say, a storage space. So there's actually one storage locker near here. So that's what we'll do if ever we don't have enough closet space. Okay, yeah, so we have a big sliding window here, and by the way, the unit gets full afternoon sun, so it gets very hot here in the afternoon. But I have yet to install curtains. I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually masking tape here up on the wall, because I actually put a backing a few days ago, but when I woke up this morning, because the winds are actually quite strong here, because we live in one of the top floors, that it kind of dislodges it all the time. So I keep on repeating putting this up in 2 or 3 days just so that I don't get like so much afternoon sun here in my office. And although I do actually welcome the afternoon sun, but that's actually bad for my makeup brushes. So that's that. Okay, now this is also going to be renovated, which is also the same thing here with the main bedroom. So the plan is this wall is actually going to be taken down there so that our bedroom is going to become bigger and it's gonna spill into the other bedroom. And because our closets are gonna be there, so it's gonna be like a walk-in closet kind of a thing. And also eventually this wall is going to be destroyed, and then this wall is also going to be destroyed, and I think like 1/3 of this wall is going to be kept, and then it's going to be moved a little bit forward here, and it's going to line up with this wall here. In doing so, it just really like frees up this space. And our concept of living here is like living in a big hotel room, so we don't really need so much closet space anyway, because my partner and I, we don't have a lot of clothes. And also with me, like when I am working, I just wear white shirts anyway. It's very rare that I wear like polo shirts like this. And if ever we need more storage, we can always bring some of our clothes to our home in the province, and then like especially like our winter clothes, I think it's gonna find its way there. So it's also very rare that I travel during the winter anyway, because I cannot stand the cold. And yeah, so like we're still trying to find a way wherein we're able to store things properly. But I do have to admit, I have more stuff than my partner, and that's because I'm a makeup artist. I really need all of this stuff for work. If I didn't had all this stuff with me, I don't think we'll have any problems with storage. But we'll see on how it goes. Okay, all right, so now let's head out into the balcony. So let's open this and this. All right, so this is the view that I have here from the balcony. So in front of us, there's a low-rise condominium unit. And then if we look there, that portion, that's actually the airport here in Manila. And I'm actually very happy with that, because as you know, I am an av geek, and on some afternoons when the sun has set, I actually love watching the planes fly in and fly out there. So that's one of the nice perks that I have living here in one of the top floors. And one of the reasons why we also chose living here in one of the top floors is because of the condominium complex here in front of us, because they actually build to until the 8th floor. So if we chose to live from the 1st floor to the 8th floor, our view is going to be the condominium complex, and we don't want that. We actually want this very nice open sky here, because it just makes everything less claustrophobic inside the unit. It just makes everything look very bright and wide and spacey, especially when you're lying on the bed. All I see is sky. So that's actually such a wonderful view. And eventually, in a few years, the condo complex here in front of us is going to build another building here in front. Then I think they're going to build more there. So the only thing that's going to concern me is that the light that bounces off of their roof might be quite intense. So we might also try to attach some sort of a partition here of cloth or something, just to lessen the bounce from the roof, because my gosh, it's actually quite hot. The light that bounces off of a tin roof, it's actually quite hot, because look at that, the roof here is actually made of metal. So that's why in the afternoons, let's say around 2 in the afternoon to let's say 4, it actually is quite hot here. So That's the only time we actually turn on the air conditioning. Okay, so speaking of air conditioning, let's go back inside the unit now. So I also bought 2 air conditioning units from the same brand as my washing machine, and it's actually TCL. So we have one window type aircon here. So this is 1.5 HP. Now we actually had to ask permission to purchase 1.5 HP aircon because they only allow us to have 2.75 HP aircons, because this has a partition for a window type aircon. And if we go to the other bedroom here, they also have a partition here for a window type aircon. So since we told the property manager's office that we actually plan of bringing down this wall, we actually want to have one air conditioning unit only that can actually cool both rooms when it becomes one. So that's why we're actually able to get that. So the thing about living here in a condominium unit is that you have to ask permission for everything, even boring holes into the walls. You really have to ask permission for that. So that's why we had to buy those sticky tacks with hooks, so that we don't have to bore holes in them and ask permission, file for our work permit, things like that, yada yada yada. Okay, and then anyway, so the other air conditioning unit that we have here is a split type aircon. So this is also from TCL. Now this split type aircon I actually purchased for a very affordable price, because again I got it on sale. So this one is actually cheaper than my window type aircon. Now what's so funny with this is that I'm gonna flip my camera over. Okay, so first things first, I love on how compact this split type aircon is. Super compact. But what is driving me nuts is that it is imbalanced. It was attached imbalanced between the door. So you guys can see, so it's driving me crazy. So I wish that you could have at least move this just a little bit so that it's in line with the door. But they were actually not able to do that because there are actually provisions here for electricity and drainage of water for this aircon. So that's why it's like that. Now the other thing that drove me crazy with this split type aircon is that you have this snake of a thing that actually goes through that part, and it snakes through our bedroom there. It goes out from there, it goes there, all around the bedroom. It goes down the side of the wall, and it goes through one of the holes there at the side of the wall, and it goes out to the compressor there. So I was actually very surprised that that happened, because I remember when we were purchasing this unit, the person who was actually taking care of us told us that there were actually provisions for the split type aircon. So in my head, when you say that, you have provisions for everything, but it was only during installation of the split type aircon I realized that they only had provisions for water drainage and for the electricity, but they did not have provisions to actually hide this horrible looking snake in towards the compressor. So my partner, bless him, was very upset when this was installed, because he was thinking like I am, that there was some tube of sorts in between the concrete that would really bring this thing outside, but it's not. So that really kind of dampen the overall vibe of the room, because you have this pesky white snake looking thing all over here. But if there's anything, we're so glad that we installed the aircon before renovations, because at least the contractor that we got can actually help solve this issue, and he will actually create some cabinetry here, and also some cornices to hide all the things that needs to be hidden for us. And it's also a good thing, because our contractor also is telling us that he could actually balance out the width of the room, because if you guys can see there, that one, it's actually protruding because you don't have that in this part of the wall. So there he's actually going to do something just to balance it out and to even it out. Yeah, so that's it. That's my short tour here of the house and my initial review of the appliances that I got. The air cons, by the way, are very quiet. You cannot hear the aircon blasting the wind. That also goes the same for the window type aircon there. It's actually so good. Even the compressor outside is actually not very noisy, so I was actually very happy with that. So we're actually looking forward to really growing old in our unit here. So let me just mount this properly. Okay, so let me put it here. I think it's so much better. Yeah, so much better. Yeah, okay. So my partner and I were actually very happy here. This is our forever home, and what we have here is what we need to live comfortably, and that's our goal. Always. So the only things that we need to do now is we have to go through a renovation of the unit, and I think that's it. So that's why when you're looking into the other bedroom, my luggage was still open, everything was still in their boxes, and the reason why is because we are actually living off of our luggage. We cannot really unpack yet, we cannot really decorate yet because we still have to go through the renovations, but there's really nothing to rush. We are looking forward to spending our time here, and we're just doing it slowly, and we are introducing ourselves to our unit, and our unit is introducing ourselves to us, and we actually do love it. Super love it. Oh, one thing by the way I forgot to mention. I'm gonna stand up again after sitting down. So as you guys can see there, that's actually a wall, right? Now that is actually the wall of the elevator. Now, what's so surprising with this is that it's actually very quiet here. We do not hear the elevator going up and down. We don't hear any disturbance at all. And that's actually what I love about this. The first time that I came into this unit, I love the vibe that it gave me. And I just love the wall space. As soon as I enter, with the flow. So let's do it again. So when you enter, I just love the flow here. I just love how everything works in terms of space and in movement all the way out here. And I think that's why I fell in love with this place. And this unit, by the way, was not the unit that was shown to us when we were initially looking for a unit. But we were actually looking at a 3-bedroom unit at the corner of this floor. And when we entered, I felt kind of off. I didn't like the wall space. I just didn't like the vibe of it. And I just didn't like it. And then we were walking out of the unit, and then we were walking, and then I just told the real estate agent who was with us, and go can I check out this room? That was just as simple as that. And she goes yeah, so you can only check it out if it's open. And then I opened the door, and the door was actually open, and it was this unit. And I told my partner Baba, you should take a look at this because I think this is nice. And that's it. And the rest is actually history. So if there's one thing I believe with homes, the homes chooses you, and I'm so glad that this home actually chose us. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I believe that's it for this vlog. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this short tour of our unit. For sure we'll have more time here, and we'll be doing a lot of vlogs here, and I have yet to find the right space for my vlogging, but I kind of like the space that we have here in this portion. Yeah, so anywho, when the renovation finishes, I'm sure I could find the right space for me so that we can continue to talk about makeup and makeup brushes and anything under the sun. Yeah, so that's it for me today. Thank you so much guys for hanging around with me. So if you have any more questions, please let me know down in the comments box, and let's have a conversation about it. All right, Okay, so that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you're having a good day wherever you are. Bye.